Melonie, and I am CEO and Chief Strategist of Boone Management Group. And Boone Management Group is a consulting firm that works with small businesses and startups. And I do what I call business strategy advising. A lot of management consultants help businesses to a point, and they help you put a plan together, and then they walk away. I actually stay with my clients from plan and strategy creation all the way through execution. I'm currently working with clients in Chicago market where I'm from, and also in Atlanta, Arizona, and California, which just happened, I think, last week. What we try to do is help businesses create a solid business model to help them grow. And so my role working with clients is to really look at three different areas. Business strategy, so what's your plan? Business growth, now that you have a plan, how are you going to grow? And then people management is the HR aspect of it. So once you start to grow, you're going to need people, and then how do you manage those people and ensure that you're compliant with the law? I have been a guest on radio shows for over a year now, and I'm going to have my own show soon. I don't know the confirmed date. I enjoy the speaking. Part of my company's commitment to the small business community is education. And so I have people who may not be able to afford our services, but I still try to find creative ways to work with them, because I think small businesses are at a disadvantage from larger businesses who can go out and pay consultants or hire the resources internally. And so I try to work with everybody that I can. And the business owner, part of the deal is that you have to be just as passionate and committed to your business growing as I am to your business growing. Give me anything back. And so I cut my Starbucks habit in half. And so you need to figure out what measurements you want to take a look at. It could be clients, it could be a sales figure per month, it could be expenses. Just identify what is best for you. I say 5 to 7 of them, and then look at them every single month. And that way you'll know what's going in and what's coming out. Another good thing to look at is your sales and who do you have kind of in the pipeline. What marketing strategies do you have to ensure that people are consistently coming to you? And what creative ways are you differentiating yourself from your competition to make sure that you're the number one choice versus somebody else, especially if you're in a very heavily saturated market. So knowing your competition, doing market research, I think, is very important. And so market research can be very intensive, or it can be taking simple steps to understand, doing a search by your zip code, for example, of who is in your space that does what you do. You can even do market research through networking, where you're going out, and networking is a great opportunity where people share what they do and how they do it. And so you can get a better understanding of what other people are doing instead of reinventing the wheel every time, or feeling like you're kind of alone and trying to figure everything out. Looking at your market and your competition and understanding what they're doing will help to better position your business. And then also looking at what other people charge. And I tell people I would have a pricing sheet that says each thing is going to cost this, because I work with clients based on their individual needs. But really going out, and I do this myself, to see what your competition is charging for stuff. If it's not online, then maybe it's making a phone call to see if you can get some information. Just being polite, very cordial, and very professional. You'd be surprised at how much people are willing to share with you. That way, you're not underpricing yourself, so people devalue what you do. And then you're not overpricing yourself, or you're kind of pricing yourself out of the market, and so no one's going to use you because you're too expensive. expensive. I pick a range from a lower end to a higher end for my clients, depending on the depth of the services that I need to provide. And that helps give me the flexibility. And sometimes I'll tell startup clients, what do you have budgeted for this investment into your business? Let's look and talk about what you're spending, what you're bringing in, and what financially makes sense for you, versus me saying, this is my price, and hope that they can either come to it or be way too low because they've actually had a different budget number in mind. So I try to do more of a collaborative effort in the phase of that process. And so understanding your competition and understanding, what they're charging and how they're pricing, what is their marketing message? What are they saying that are attracting people to them? I have been working with a client who does business strategy and she writes business plans. And one of the things we found is that she only has one stream of revenue, and it's just writing the business plans. So if she doesn't have a client who wants a business plan already, she has no money coming in. So we went out and looked in the market at people who, in the same business plan, business development space, are selling web content, and what type of content are they selling, and how much are they charging for it. So she's in the process right now of creating materials that she can sell online. And by selling those things online, that's a stream of revenue that she can do in her sleep. We'll make sure that her website has everything for search engine optimization, that she's using social media and blogging to advertise those things. And then she's also tapping into an underserved market that may not be able to afford a full business plan the way she writes it, but she'll have 3 service options. One of them will be to buy a business plan template and do it yourself. There'll be another section where you can buy the business plan template in hours with an expert. And so now she has diversified herself, and instead of just waiting for those larger clients to come in, we're creating a way for her to have money coming in from separate outlets that don't require a lot of work, because on the business plan side, that does require a lot of her time and her attention. And that all came through going out in the market and looking at what other people were doing, what was successful and what was not successful, and then we were able to build off of that for her. And so we're still in the phase of her creating her content library, but it's a good step for her to take now, and she feels really good about walking through that process. Knowing how to develop yourself is interesting. I am addicted to development, and I think I shared that with you all. I love school, I read, but development doesn't have to be complicated, it doesn't have to be expensive. You all are investing in yourself right now just by sitting here. It can be reading a book. I just downloaded 3 free business books on Kindle for me to read something on my way back to Chicago tomorrow. And so think of different ways that you can develop yourself, whether it's through working out for the fitness ladies, because you all have to stay fit. Reading a book, understanding business is critical, whether you are, my son wants to be a plumber and own a plumbing business, needs to understand how to operate a business, a consultant, bookkeeper, no matter who you are, you need to understand business. And we had a conversation earlier about financials and bookkeeping. That's something you need to have a general understanding of. Then you also need to understand and pass it on to the professionals when it's time. And so don't forget to develop yourself, because a lot of times we stay very focused on everyone else. And, we're trying to make sure our clients are taken care of, and we all have families, and we forget to develop ourselves. And I have reading time in my house. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and Sundays is quiet time. There's no TV. The 4-year-old plays with her people toys, she calls them, and she'll read a book. I get a chance to read or do something, homework with my son, but just creating those moments of development are really important. And they're also peaceful, because I actually turn my phone off. I don't get email, there's no internet. We go completely, shut off in my house on Sundays so that we can focus on development for everybody, regardless of what it is. So don't forget that. And then knowing when to lead is really interesting. There are times where you truly need to lead. One of the areas I feel in business where you really need to lead is in your organizational vision. That's something that you can't delegate, you can't leave sitting. You have to really be focused on how to move your business forward. And so some other areas that you may be able to delegate, I have tons of business cards. I still have a stack like this thick on my desk waiting for me when I get back. And that's something that I actually will delegate. I have interns that work with me, and so we're working on a business development strategy, and that's part of it. So knowing what you need to do, and what you need to take care of as a business owner, and then knowing when to get help and where you can delegate things. And delegation is very difficult for me because my spreadsheet has to be a certain way, last name first, first name last, in separate columns, and I get all crazy, but it's easier for me to just put my template together and email that to my associate and have her do it versus me putting the template together and typing in 100 business cards in that manner and then uploading it to everywhere it needs to go to. You know, I've taken something that's only taken 10 minutes to do the template and made it a 2-hour project. So know what you need to handle yourself internally, and then also know what you can share with others. And then the final thing is knowing your plan and executing your strategy. And what I've included in you all's packet is an exercise that I take clients through in creating a business model. And so what it does is it breaks the business down into 3 areas. Your customers, your infrastructure, and your financials. And I also created very simple questions that you can ask yourself. And when you do this though, you have to take the emotion out of it and you have to look at it from a really objective standpoint and be honest with yourself in answering the questions. And so you walk through 9 stages of talking through your business plan and who's your client. I call it a client prototype. So who is the client that you want to replicate over and over and over and over again? So if you think about that person that comes to your class every single week and absolutely loves it, doesn't care about paying for it, would buy a DVD, a t-shirt, a doll of you, you know, it's like your evangelist. Who is that client and what do they look like? And then you find out where are they, how can you reach them, and then how can you duplicate that over and over and over again so that you find that every class is booked. And you're having to tell people, I'm adding an extra class because Monday through Friday is booked, so now we're going to do a Saturday. That's the type of client that you want over and over again. And so walking through this exercise, it helps you to identify what value do you add, why do your clients pay for you, what makes them come back over and over again, then what is that client and who are they? And then the third thing under the customer section is how do you reach them? Now that you know what value you add, what problem you solve, you know the client that you're going after, the third thing is where are they? How do you market to them and how do you get them through the door? Under your infrastructure, you want to look at the different ways that you can, one, distribute what you do. And so I'm using my Zumba ladies here because we kind of had a conversation about, you know, you have your class, you have DVD possibilities, there's YouTube subscriptions that you can do. There are all of these different ways that you can distribute your services to people for pay, so that you can continually have revenue coming from multiple streams, which I think is really important. And so understanding those distribution outlets and asking yourself these questions will help you. Even if you all did web seminars where it's all video and people can log in and they can be in their living room, their office, or wherever, and they can join a class that's being broadcast through the internet. And they pay $19.99 a month or $12.99 a month or whatever it is. You're already in class anyway, but now you're getting paid extra through another outlet. So understanding that. And then looking at, I call them the 3 Ps, your people, your processes, and your property. Do you need property? If you do, what does that space need to do for you? And then how can that space make you money? So if you have a studio, you may not be in your studio 7 days a week. Is there someone else who is looking for rental space? Can you host networking events at your studio? And have a Zumba thing. Like there's a lot of ways that you can use your resources to your advantage. I'm looking at your processes and understanding how you do what you do. We all get up every day and we do our jobs and we're good at them, but we don't think as to how we do it. What is the step-by-step process that you go through? So outlining what that is and understanding it is really important. And then the final thing is your power partners and insourcing. So your power partners are going to be other business owners, or it could be people who These are the people who understand what you do, and they can bring in clients through referrals for you. And in return, there's synergies between the two so that you can help them with resources. And on the insourcing side, it's things like finding someone to do your bookkeeping and your accounting. I have work with a creative advertising firm because I am not creative. I will say, this is what I want, and it's just as black and white as it gets. And so I need someone to take my vision and put it into something that is visual, that people want to engage with. I'm not good at that part. I can put words on a piece of paper all day long and do charts and graphs and forms, but that's not the visual stimulation that is going to make people talk to me. And so when you look at my website, I literally went to them and said, I want to look strong, I want to be about growth, I, want to develop other businesses, and we did this whole brainstorming type of session about what I wanted. And then they took that and they created the brand. And so that was a good dollar spent for me because that was an investment in an area that I was weak. And one of the greatest things about it is they worked with me through the process. They didn't just say, okay, we'll build your site and we'll see you later. And we actually still work together now, and they're helping me with the messaging on our site and the words. I'm very intellectual in my writing. And so my website, on the SEO, it says that my website, it's hard to describe this. I guess this is too smart or too wordy, or I need to cut something and I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to use a service that understands my business, and to me that's another good dollar spent, because when people can relate and understand what's going on my website and the services that I offer, then they're going to call and they're going to engage me, and I'll see a return on that. So really understand what your organization needs, what type of partners do you need to have. I have power partners that are in professional services. I have people that are cleaning service, because I never know what my clients are going to need, and they actually do my house too, which is amazing. So you have to think of all of these people who can help you grow your business. And then on the financial side, looking at your revenue and your margins. And so revenue, of course, is what's coming in. Your margins are going to be what you're actually making off of what's coming in. So if you're bringing in, let's say, $2,000 a month, but you're spending $2,000 a month, or it costs you $3,500 a month to produce and bring in $2,000, then you're not really making any money. And so when you look at your pricing structures, you want to make sure that there's some cushion in there. I have a 60-40 rule, or it can be a 40-60 rule, depending on the business. And so for my own personal business, I try to put back 40% of every dollar that comes in goes back into reinvesting in my business. And that's the website, that's the marketers, that's the advertising, and my Twitter ads, and all the stuff that I do. I want to make sure that whatever I'm bringing in, 40% automatically goes over to that. Some months it's 60% goes back into that, just depending on what's going on. But really take a look at that and understand what's going out and what's coming in and what you're reinvesting in your business. I am a self-funded business, so I've done it myself. I don't have investors or anything like that. So it's important to me that I don't spend every dollar that comes in, that some money goes back into the business to help build it up. The next thing under financials is price progression, and I talked about this just a little bit. With price progression, what it basically means is having additional ways to bring in money through a pricing model. So let's say we have a subscription model, and so someone pays you monthly to come in for your services. Can there be levels of that subscription? Can there be a lower cost for people who do larger groups? And then you charge a little bit more for people who do smaller groups. And then you charge a little bit more for people who want to do one-on-one sessions with you. You've now created a price progression where you're able to make more money depending on the work that you put out. And so when you look at your business and how you price things, and I even have a price progression written or worked into the consulting that I do, and it is nice to have. And I don't have to worry about, I have only big clients, and if one of those big clients walks away, I'm out of business. I have lower paying clients, some in a mid-range, and some in a high range. So I'm comfortable knowing that if anybody moves or leaves in that group, I'm okay, and the business is not going to fall. Sometimes you have have to be creative because you think you may not be able to create price progressions in what you do, but you really can in almost any pricing model, and it's all about the services that you offer. And it goes back to understanding the process and what you do, how much work goes into the output that needs to come out. And if you have to charge people at different levels, they're still getting the same value that you discovered through walking through the first column. It's just a matter of how much time you're putting in to each person. And finally, for the financial is really understanding your expenses. And this, like I said, is an area that I didn't really understand. And I was going a little crazy with the money that I was spending on stuff because I just didn't look at it. And I reconcile my, bookkeeping stuff every month, but you're just putting it in, and I wasn't paying attention until I ran that report and saw, like, April, I don't know what I was doing in April. April was a good month, and so I started making more money, which meant I started spending more money. So I no longer was putting my lunch in my bag. I was buying my lunch, and I wasn't going to a cheaper place because I'm trying to eat a little more healthy, and so I'm going to more expensive places. But now that I understand that, before I swipe a card, write a check, or do anything for the business, I look at what type of value is it bringing internally and can I get a return on it. So that is the final area there. And then what it all boils down to really is your strategy. And so this whole thing that we've just walked through is all about creating a business strategy for yourself that is going to lead to success. And believe it or not, you do start to gain momentum just by doing some of these simple things in here, whether you work with a consultant or you start this process yourself. I recommend that everybody at least walk through the 9 areas in the business model exercise to understand who you are, what you do, who you serve, how you deliver it, how you price it, and then how much you spend to create all of that. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, it's more of a comment. I just want to say that you did an excellent job, Melonie. I don't think that most people realize that what you just did was you gave us a crash course of an MBA program. And like a lot of people, they have an idea for a business, they want to start a business, but they don't have respect for individuals, that have a business. So I think that a lot of us, especially with Ashley and Christina, that's in that transition of building their businesses, if they don't have that professional MBA background, they need to hire somebody like yourself because running a business is not easy. People are quick to criticize and say, okay, do it this way. But until you really, really work with someone like yourself, that's the only way you're going to really grow. So I want to say that this is a good workshop. I learned a lot. You gave us a lot of good information.
And I condensed it. This is actually a 4-hour training that I facilitate. And so I tried to condense it and not leave out any of the good information. What usually happens, the first 2 hours is education, and then the last 2 hours is actually working and building a business model and a strategy as a group so that you can get input from the people around you.
I guess my question is, I'm the creative side of everything.
Okay.
I have a lot of creativity, a lot of ideas and talents too. But when it comes to what do you call it? Scouting for clients, I don't have that aspect of it.
Right.
I don't even know where to start. I'm like, okay, maybe I should go on Craigslist and post some ads on there. Maybe I should just give people my business cards and tell them to go visit my website and they can see what I do. I've gone to a couple of networking events and I had to have someone give me networking event etiquette because I was literally at events sitting around like, okay, people are going to come up to me and talk to me and things like that. I didn't even know how to approach people at networking events. Like, I felt like I was being intrusive. Hey, how you doing? Stuff like that. People tell me, when you, once you get the courage to approach someone that you don't know, there's a way that you have to approach them even in that aspect. Like, you can't be like all about business. You have to show them your human side first, break down those walls, and then start talking about business. So there was a lot of things I had to learn about scouting for potential clients and introducing who I am to them and what I offer to them without feeling like I was being intrusive or feeling awkward and different things like that. So what do you tell a person who has the creative side but not that networking, scouting for clients side?
Well, so I feel like you have to have a targeted approach to your networking. For example, I do not network at night because I don't think that business is being conducted at night. If I want to go to a happy hour to have fun, then I go to a happy hour to have fun. And I may talk about the business or pass out a business card. I typically go to breakfast or lunch networking events because people are already in a business mindset because they're in the middle of their day or they're getting ready to start their day. And then I try to go to things that are a little bit smaller because I call myself an introverted extrovert. So I can get up and do this because this is my business and this is how I make money. I right now, back in my room, have my sweatpants and a t-shirt laying out on the bed, and that's all I can think about right now is getting back and getting comfortable and sitting on the sofa and watching TV. So that's where I would rather be. So since I've identified that as an issue for myself, I can't go to big networking events because I just sit. And I actually have an interesting strategy. So when we go to networking events, everyone gets like their 30 seconds, the elevator speech or whatever you want to call it. You need to make sure that your pitch or your conversation is so memorable that people want to come and talk to you. So when I go to networking events, I go around the table, I do my thing, I have key things that I say very quick, very short, and then I'm done. And when it's over, I just sit back and wait and see who comes to me. And what I have learned is that those are more valuable connections than the people that I go to. Because those are people who something I sparked when I said whatever I said, they want to talk to me and they want to learn more. And I have gotten more business with that model because then they say, you know, I'm really interested in what you were saying about startups. Can we meet for coffee so I can learn more about what you do? And so that's a better conversation than me wanting everybody in this room and passing out a card because not everybody needs what I want and not everybody wants to hear what I have to say. And so it's easier for me in those smaller settings to do my thing in my 30 seconds and then wait and see who comes over. And it's really interesting because I test this theory. A lot of people think I'm crazy and that it doesn't work, but it actually does. And I have developed amazing relationships with people, some of them 2 years in now, just because of working on that process. But it takes practice. And I did go to the ones at night. I did go to the ones with 300 business owners with blue name tags and here, blah, blah, blah. So I experimented to see what works. I also know that I need to be in front of CEOs and decision makers because those are the people who will sign a contract with me faster. And so I try to find networking groups that have that person at the table. I don't want to really talk to, you know, the jewelry maker because she may not really be where I need to be, or I don't need to network where the assistant is networking because then I have to go through too many hurdles. I want the person who's feeling the pain, who is the business owner, to hear what I have to say. And so you really have to look at like where you're networking, how you're networking. But I think your messaging is more important than anything. So you pull out 3 or 5 things that solve whatever the issue is that you're solving or topics that you can throw in 30 seconds. And so I'll give you all an example. When I go out and network, I'll say I'm Melonie Boone, Chief Strategist of Boone Management Group. Boone Management Group works with small to mid-sized businesses in 3 key areas. We help with business strategy, business growth, and then people management. Sometimes I'll tell a story. I'll say, you know, right now we're working with a client. It depends on who's in the room. So there's like a lot of startups in the room. I'll say right now we're working with a startup who is a teacher. He came to us with an idea about 2 months ago for creating a teachers association that recognizes top teachers. And we're going to be launching on October 18th. So it's little things like that, short, sweet, concise. And I'm not telling too much, so now people want to know. I retweet people's stuff. I try to engage people. If I see something, I just met a social media marketing firm, and I saw one of their tweets and just really liked what they said. So I sent a little retweet and said, I really like what you said. Let's meet for coffee because they were in Chicago. Or I said, let's have a call. And when you start having those interactions, you're able to turn social into personal.